Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Wagon Sports Podcast here on the Wagon Network. We have a great show for you guys today. Slade is in a hotel with shitty Wi-Fi. Nick is in a new apartment with outlets that don't work. This is going to be a fantastic shit show. We were excited to bring it to you guys. Yeah, we might give up halfway and just turn it off. We'll see. But nonetheless, it was a great weekend in sports. Like I said, we got a lot to talk about. This is going to be a lot of fun. Started off as we always do with the NBA Finals in progress. Right now, series is tied 1-1. Boston wins game 1. Golden State game 2. Slade, we'll go to you first. What were your thoughts on both games? Are you sticking with your pick? You took Golden State in 7, or excuse me, you took Golden State in 6. You sticking with that? You feel good about that? You want to change it at all? But your thoughts on the first two games?
I think first two are Boston showed up first game.
Yeah.
Series, Golden State was rested. They showed up. And then the Warriors turned it on in second. 20 or something like that. Yeah, I'm sticking with 6.
Okay. I mean, I feel like it. I mean, obviously, that's definitely still in play. But Nick, your thoughts on the first two games? Are you sticking with Boston? I think you took them in 6. Okay, you stick with that? Do you feel good about that? And your thoughts on the first two games?
Yeah. So, I'm definitely. I'll just start off and say I'm definitely going to stick with it. It's still in play. Obviously, for Boston to do it in 6, they were going to have to steal a road game somewhere. Actually, 2. Yeah, they'd have to steal. No,
1.
they could. Yeah, they could get away with it stealing 1. Which starting out with the first game was great for them. I am slightly worried because the Golden State that we seen in Game 2 was the Golden State that I was worried about. When we were making our predictions. Now, there's a few things that could have gone differently. I believe it was Marcus Smart that I was watching in Game 2. Took a lot of bad shots. Guy in his face, turnaround jumpers, like just not smart NBA Finals shots. Um, you know, Obviously he knows what he's doing. Maybe it's a little NBA Finals nerves. Maybe he just was worried with Tatum not scoring as much in the first game. He felt like he had to do more, even though Tatum had a great second game.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously I'd like to see some of those things cleaned up, but nonetheless, I'm still feeling pretty good about Boston in 6.
Yeah. So I took Boston in 7. I still feel good about that. I mean, if you think back, both the last two series Boston had, they got blown out by the Bucks in one of the games, and I'm pretty sure the Heat, I don't think blew them out, but had a decent sized victory. Yeah, like you said, Boston definitely could have done a lot of things differently, but Golden State is showing you why they are one of the best teams in the NBA when their full squad is healthy. And they just put on an offensive clinic. Now, listen, there was probably a few questionable calls you could argue, but not enough that you could say if all of those calls went the right way, it was going to close the gap 20 points.
I do,
but
before you go
yeah.
on, I did want to touch on. I don't know if you watched the game or not, but Draymond Green had a technical foul early.
Yeah.
Shocker. And there was a play. I believe it might have been Marcus Smart again. Maybe Jaylen Brown was the one taking the bad shots. I don't remember. I was under the influence while I was watching the game, so the fact that I remember it at all, uh, shocking. But nonetheless, there was an opportunity where he had fouled Smart on a 3-point shot. When Smart went down to the court, he went down to the court with him. He put his legs on top of Smart. Yeah.
And then he pulled his pants down, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the announcers and even the replay guy that they have come on, I forget his name, we're talking about how in any other scenario it would be
it should have been another flagrant or technical. Yeah.
And obviously they talked about it. It would have had an effect on the game, and the refs, are trying to avoid having an effect on the game.
Mm-hmm.
And I completely disagree with that. I think if you're going to be in the finals and you don't want to have an effect on it, you should call the game 100%, fairly and accurately. And I'm not just saying that because I'm rooting for Boston in this series. If it was the other way around, I would have said the same thing.
Mhm.
You know, it's Draymond Green, and his his skill set at this point is basically defense and trash talking and getting in people's heads. And he's going to push the boundaries on that every single game. And I think you kind of have to put your foot down and say, okay, we're not going to let you go crazy with this and just
Mhm.
do whatever the hell you want. There are still rules in basketball, and they still need to be followed. Um,
T-
just wanted to touch on that a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, to add to that, Nick, that that exact situation is what affected them being up 3-1 against Cleveland a couple years ago. He got that second technical, ended up putting him out for the next game, and the Cleveland Cavaliers ended up gaining steam and coming back.
Yep.
Mhm. Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you. I mean, it's always funny to me when refs say that, because listen, you are right. You shouldn't be affecting the outcome of the game in a negative way. Like if it would have been like a questionable call and they gave it to him, it's like, okay, like then you can sit here and argue with this and like, hey, you're doing too much with the game. With how egregious that was, yeah, you should have called it.
Yeah.
But I always laugh, like you hear the NFL refs say this all the time. NHL, MLB umpires is like, oh, we're not trying to, and especially in the playoffs, like, oh, we're not trying to affect the game. We want to let them have at it. But it's like, then you turn around and they make like the most egregious calls sometimes that ends up affecting the game. And it's like, I
Yeah.
mean, you think back to the Saints in the NFC Championship game a couple years ago with that no call pass interference, and it's like,
Yep.
like, yeah, let them play, but at the same time, like, damn, when it's that bad, you gotta
Yeah.
call it. Like,
Yeah.
there's no way to avoid that. Like, I mean, if it's little ticky tack shit, okay, yeah, hey, let's let that slide. They'll work it out. When it escalates to that level, they need to step in and make that call. And like I said, it's not just the NBA; it is every professional league, even college. Referees and umpires that just at the worst times are like, oh no, we're gonna let it go, and it's just like,
Yeah. Well,
but
the
yeah,
one
like you,
announcer made a
yeah,
great point. He said, you can't, if you're Draymond Green, like you can't be counting on the refs, to
yeah,
give you that slip. Like
yeah,
if you
absolutely.
if
His
you fuck
next
up,
his next technical will come super quick.
Oh yeah,
They will not review it. They won't think about it. He'll get it right away.
yeah.
yeah,
But yeah, just real quick, just to wrap up on this. I mean, Boston's heading to home now. They always seem to play really well in front of their home crowd. Um, the city, their hockey team gets knocked out in Game 7. The Pats haven't been super great here as of late without Brady. So that I feel like that atmosphere at the Garden is just going to be absolutely insane. I'm excited to see Game 3 tomorrow night. It's going to be a lot of fun. But yeah, moving on from the NBA finals, we have the conference finals in the NHL, and one of them is already over after 7 days. Not really. I thought the Oilers would put up a little bit more of a fight. Slade thought they were going to win it. Slade, you had Edmonton in 6. Your thoughts on the series, real quick. I know you watched a good bit of the games. Your thoughts, real quick, on the series.
I thought for sure that Connor McDavid was going to beat Nathan McKinnon in this series. I thought that it was like the last series when they said that they didn't lose to a team, they lost to one guy. I thought for sure that this was going to be a two-person star battle, and
Yeah.
it was. It just didn't go. I mean, it wasn't like that, but it the other guy won basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it would have been smarter to pick them in 7, so it wouldn't have looked as bad. But yeah, it was definitely a good win. I mean, they've just been a powerhouse. I was
Mhm.
thinking that their power was coming to an end, and it just didn't.
Yeah. Nick, your thoughts on the series? I believe you took Colorado in 6. We all had it ending in 6 games. Nick and I had Colorado. Slade's the only one to take Edmonton. But yeah, your thoughts on the series, real quick.
yeah. You know, it seems you look at the sweep and it seems like Colorado just kind of mopped the floor with it. But if you think about it, it really wasn't as bad as 4-0 sounds. In a best of 7 series, the first game was high scoring as hell.
Slaughter.
Yeah.
It was a slaughter. I'll talk about it. You can go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. And even I believe, yeah, game 3 that I watched. I think somebody's truck backfired, but nonetheless, Connor McDavid came out game 3 and was absolutely fired up. I texted you guys. He scored in the first, I want to say it was the first minute.
Yeah, I think it was like
Um,
30 seconds in.
Yeah,
yeah, it was
like
fast
36
as
or
hell.
something.
And you could tell his energy the whole game was there. It's kind of a shame that his teammates didn't follow along with that energy and match him.
Mhm.
Um, but he was somebody that he wanted to win. And, Evander Kane came out like 30 seconds after his goal and got I believe they called it a cross checking. Um,
Mhm.
and it was a pretty brutal 5 minute major. They ended up killing it. Um, but it pretty much seemed like the energy after that penalty kill just didn't live up to. The whole team was hype after the Connor McDavid goal, but after that penalty, the rest of the game was just lackluster from Edmonton. Kind of like you said, not necessarily a shock, but then also kind of a shock. You look at Colorado and the season they had in Edmonton and barely making it to the playoffs. It seems fitting, but Edmonton did not look like a barely making the playoffs team. So
Mhm.
I wish we could have seen more out of this series because between McDavid, Draisaitl, McCarr, the whole lot of talent that was on that ice on any given night, it was entertaining. Whether it was a 4-0 sweep or not, it was definitely entertaining. So
Yeah. Um, yeah. So like I said, yeah, I had Colorado in 6. I was surprised it ended in 4. Like you said, I wanted the entertainment factor of watching McDavid and McKinnon go at it. Um, game 1 went very similar to how game 1 went in the Calgary series for Edmonton. I don't know what it was with them in game 1 of both series. But they did regroup a little bit for game 2. Um, but Colorado was just feeding off the energy of that building. I don't think there was much they could do. And then they go to game 3. McDavid scores in a heartbeat. Um, and the biggest thing for me is when Kane takes that penalty, like you said, one, their energy went out, but two, that's just the dumbest shit you can do. Like it's one thing to do something like that to try and get momentum back when, like, say if Colorado would have scored first in like 30 seconds. Then it's something where, like, and again, I'm not saying you should ever dump somebody into the boards head first. Um, it was just a bullshit penalty regardless. But um, you want to go take a big hit or go start a fight or something to get momentum back. When you have momentum like that, and when you're trying to even the series, there is zero reason to try and do that and try and make that statement hit at that point in the game. Like that was just so boneheaded, and that's been Evander Kane his whole life. Oh, he's a great skater, he's a great scorer, but he just does the stupidest shit sometimes. And then he gets himself in this situation. He got banned for game 4, and they could have desperately used him in game 4.
They would have
And
won.
yeah, I guarantee they would have won in game 4 if Evander Kane was out there on the ice, because Draisaitl and McDavid can only do so much. And I knew Mike Smith was going to be a liability the entire series. He kind of picked it up a little bit in game 3 and 4. But you needed another scorer, another role player out there with those two to even the playing field a little bit. And with him taking that dumb penalty, that I knew right then and there that the series was over basically. I was
that's
surprised.
why he's in debt.
Yeah. I was surprised that they forced it to game 4. Excuse me, forced game 4 in the overtime. Especially with the second and third period that Colorado had. But yeah, not very surprised that Colorado won the series overall. Honestly, I wanted to go 7 just to see the entertainment factor. Speaking of series that might go 7, we have the Rangers and the Lightning. Rangers lead 2-1 right now. Game 4, excuse me, is tonight. This is Tuesday night as recording. When we post this, it'll already happened. Slade, you have the Rangers in 5. Your thoughts on the first 3 games? Are you sticking with Rangers in 5?
I am. I think that the Rangers could have won game 3.
Yeah.
I think that they could be up 3-0 right now and could easily take a loss tonight with being up 3-0 and take it back to New York to win in 5. I think now they're still going to win in 5, but I think they're just gonna have to do it on the road and then at home.
Yeah. Nick, your thoughts on the series so far? You have the Rangers in 7.
Yeah. To piggyback off of what Slade said, Rangers very easily could be up 3-0 right now. Um, I'm not sure what Tampa Bay team we're watching right now. Uh,
Yeah.
it is not the same Tampa Bay team that played the first 2 series in the playoffs. Maybe that victory in Game 3 will help bolster them a little bit. I'd like to see, especially with the first series being done already.
I'm sorry. What the fuck are you doing?
I was trying to
What?
get the game on.
I just look up and Slade's just like looking up, and I thought he was playing with the lights or something. I was like, what the? All right, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're good. Especially with the first series being over already, I would not mind seeing the series go to 7 at all.
Yeah.
At least entertain me a little bit here, because who knows what we're gonna get in the finals, with Colorado. Um, but nonetheless, I didn't. This series has looked different than I thought it was gonna, as far as like actual on the ice play.
Mhm.
The scoring or the series points itself are kind of about where I expected. But we still got a lot of hockey to play here. I don't think, like I said, I think with Tampa Bay winning this last game, they're gonna come out with some fight. They're gonna put up everything they have. I think they kind of needed that wake up call of going down 2-0. But the Rangers have not. Did they lead this second round at all? Trying to remember.
No,
They were down in both series, were they not?
I believe so.
Yeah. So this is new for us as far as the Rangers this year in the playoffs.
It was tied going to
Carolina.
No. Yeah,
Carolina
Carolina was
led
up.
3-2.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
won
Carolina
two.
was up.
They led 1-0, 2-1, 3-2, and then
Okay, I thought so. So uh, you know, a huge advantage to New York because they've been playing, behind the entire playoffs. So I think they're going to be able to get it done. If I happened to change mine, I would say Rangers in 6, but I'm going to keep it the same and say Rangers in 7 still.
Yeah. I also took Rangers in 7. I'm going to keep it. But like you said, Nick, very different tip, at least the first 2 games. Game 3, they kind of looked more of themselves. But the first 2 games, they definitely looked almost like shocked. Vasilevsky was shaken in net, letting Zibanejad especially get to him a lot. Game 3, we kind of saw status quo for the Lightning. They definitely could have been a little bit better defensively, and that's really been their biggest thing is just on the defense. I don't know what New York has got on them, but they are just outplaying their defense left and right. But I think with the Game 3 victory, I still see it going 7. I think Tampa Bay wins at home again tonight. It goes back to New York. Honestly, I think they're just going to keep swapping home wins, and then Game 7 is just going to come down to a coin flip, basically. But New York's offense has just gotten better and better and better each series, which is really scary to see if they do make it to the finals. Listen, Colorado's offense is great, but their defense is horrible. And New York will pick that apart left and right. And we could easily see like 20 goals scored in a game between those two. That's going to be something else to watch. But at the end of the day, New York still needs to get through Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay is back-to-back Stanley Cup champions for a reason. And I don't see them having any issue with not only building off a win, but just regrouping throughout the rest of the series and definitely pushing this to 7. But New York at home has been lights out except for Game 1 of the Pittsburgh series. And so I see it going 7, and New York at home is just going to be very hard to beat.
What do you guys think? Either one makes it to the finals against the Avalanche, who have been a powerhouse. Do you think the Avs' power comes to an end, like I thought the Oilers were going to put to it? Because I mean, the Rangers have the grittiest path. If they go to 7, like you guys had said, and they get through, they've had the grittiest path through. This is the only series that they've let in. They would have gone to 7 games in every series or in the last 3 series. Same with the Lightning. The Lightning had a blowout win in the first series. Second series, I think they went.
No, by the way. So they went to
Correct.
7. Yeah, they went
You're
to
right.
7
Then they went to
series.
4. Okay.
Yeah, and then they swept.
But yeah, and like you said, they have the experience. They've been there 2 years. So, what do you think
Here-
there?
If the Lightning pull this out, I'm taking the Avs. I mean, we'll talk about this more in depth.
Right.
If the Lightning win, I'm taking the Avs. Like I said, they've just shown too many defensive weaknesses throughout the playoffs so far, other than the Florida series. But I don't know what the hell was going on in Florida during that series. But they've just shown too many weaknesses that obviously New York has exploited to this point. But I feel like the Avs will absolutely just blow wide open with their offense. If it's New York, I feel like that's a coin flip. Like I said, New York's offense has just progressively gotten better, and so is their defense. I still hope Jacob Trouba fucking falls into a subway. Not in front of the train or anything, but I just hope he trips and falls into the subway.
Just a scare.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But each round they're just getting better and better. I always feel like the Avs might find a little bit of complacency. Maybe the first 2 games, and then that'll push it 7. And I feel like that is a series. I mean, either way, I'm gonna love watching the finals this year. But that might be the more exciting matchup with the New York team that's on the rise, way ahead of where they're supposed to be as a franchise right now. They're in a rebuild last year, and then everybody was like, "Oh, they just want to make the playoffs this year." And then they won the first round. Like, okay, well, let's win a couple games in the second round, and then they win the second round, and now they're like, "Shit, well, we might as well go for it," kind of thing. So,
And you can say that the Penguins lost to the Stanley Cup champions.
I still don't want to fucking say that.
Then he has to admit New York's the Stanley Cup champions.
Exactly.
I do agree with you though.
Yeah.
I'd rather see New York in the finals versus Colorado than the Lightning. However, they've been preaching about three-peat. We could see a totally different team, but just seeing the way that they've performed against New York, I don't. If I'm Tampa Bay, I don't know if I want to go to the finals against Colorado.
Yeah. Like I said, either way, I'm going to be excited to watch the finals. I think it's going to be a great series either way. Yeah, I'll have to wait and see who makes it, and then I'll make my picks then.
Yeah.
Moving on, we had a great weekend at Jack's Place in Ohio for the Memorial Tournament. Billy Horschel comes away with a great victory. That was really cool to see. Everybody had kind of coined him as like Mr. PGA, and it was ironic that I think it was Friday night the Live Golf field was announced, or what the exact day was, but it was announced sometime last week, and everybody was talking Saturday night. Like, could you imagine Billy Horschel walking up 18, and this one guy I follow on Twitter was like, he should walk up 18 with a bell and just saying all the guys that are banned from the PGA Tour now because they went over to Live Golf. We're gonna talk about Live Golf here in a second, but real quick, Slade, what were your thoughts on Billy Horschel's terrific tournament, his win, the tournament as a whole?
Yeah, I think that he had a great tournament.
Really?
No, I just mean in terms of the last couple weeks, we've seen someone goes out to a big lead and then they fucking squander it.
Yeah.
He did not do that. He didn't really have to do much. I mean, did you guys see the after interview with Jack? He was like,
yeah, that was really cool.
Just tried to do what you and Tiger would do, and just 2-putt, get to the green and 2-putt, get through the round. And it was just really cool to see that he has tremendous respect for Tiger and Jack. I think that it was the coolest part is that that's the first victory he's ever gotten where his family was at the golf course. I think that's the best part for him because it's something he's going to get to remember forever. He could have won the Masters this year and his family not be there, and this mean more. So
that's what I was gonna, that's watching him walk up 18, and they had the cameras on his family and his kids are like, "Oh, look, there's that." I was like, I started tearing up. I was like, that shit's cool.
Mm-hmm.
And then he crested the hill or whatever, and then they started screaming more and more. But then the crowd went nuts when he hit the green,
mm-hmm.
and it's scared the shit out of his son. His son started crying. I was like, what the hell is going on? But then he sinks that putt, and his family just runs. They instantly cut back to the camera, and it's just his wife. I was like, "Where's the kids?" And they cut back to him, and his kids are already out there. I was like, "Oh shit, that's cool." Yeah, no, that was really special to see. But his putt on 15 for eagle was absolutely insane. I mean, every tournament has has those moments where you're like, okay, that guy's gonna win, and obviously 15 is a little late. I forget who was in second. I can't think of his name right now.
Wise.
That's what Wise put
Or
up a
at
great
least he
fight.
was. I'm not
No, yeah,
sure at
that's who it
15
was.
if he was.
Yeah.
Okay.
Um, yeah, he put together a great tournament. He is young and he's getting experience. So to have like that final pairing on Sunday feel and to know that you were just like a shot or two away and you easily could have been a little bit closer, put a little bit more pressure on. Um, but like I said, I mean, every tournament has that moment where you're like, okay, they're gonna win. But when he sank that putt on 15, that was just spectacular to watch. Just an insane putt. And at that moment, you're like, okay, nothing can happen unless he has a meltdown on 18, like Mita the week before. And even he had a really good week, which was super good to see him bounce back from such a heartbreaking loss. And he played really well this week. What happened to PGA is almost like something you would like, if that happened to you, like I would hide in a bunker for a week. And then I don't think I could ever play golf again. He goes out there and he was the top 5 most of the weekend. I think he had a rough Sunday, but still, it was just great to see him bounce back regardless and play well. Nick, real quick, your thoughts on Horschel's win, the tournament as a whole.
Yeah. So I believe I texted you guys on Sunday. I thought he might have been trying to do a little Mito impersonation. He was struggling. I want to say he was +2 for the day going into the back nine or shortly after the start of the back nine, one of the two.
Yeah. You text us, you're like, somebody like really fell apart, and you're like, Horschel's trying to blow the lead or whatever, and I was like, please don't.
Yeah. And he managed to get himself together and wrap it up. And it was kind of a little bit when I texted you guys about it. It was kind of he was struggling and Wise was playing great, and I was like, oh shit, like, here we go. But you shoot -12 on a Saturday, you're setting yourself up pretty good, for Sunday. So luckily he did that. You think about that. Had he shot say -10 instead on Saturday, the lead's 2 points lower. Next thing you know, that pressure that Wise is putting on is a whole lot greater. So definitely a great performance from start to finish. Really, he didn't really have a bad day. I don't believe. I don't remember what his score was Thursday, but I don't believe it was bad. Not that I have much to say.
Solid weekend.
Yeah. But it was just great. We've seen it, especially over the past couple weeks. You got these people, like you said, either somebody has a big lead and blows it, or somebody just has a magnificent, round on Sunday and ends up coming up and stealing the lead. He really, though he wasn't in the lead after Thursday and Friday, he kept himself there and then just managed to continue to play good enough to get the win. So that was nice to see.
Yeah. Got to talk about a little bit more golf here real quick. Just wanted to say on Saturday, shot a personal best, something that I didn't think I was going to do at this point this year with how shitty I played the first few months. 108, finally broke 110. Woo! 100 is next. But sticking with golf, sticking with golf, we briefly touched on it there. The Live Golf Field for the first tournament this upcoming weekend was announced. Some big names. I think the most surprising one was DJ, just because 2 months ago he said, like I'm loyal to the PGA, like I'm not leaving. And then he marries Paulina Gretzky, and next thing you know, he's signed up for the Live Golf Tour. Who was your guys?
25 millis, I think it was.
125.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was a lot.
That would make me do
For 7 starts.
My favorite part was like somebody made a meme when it was like one of the pro-ams and he played with Wayne. And Wayne's like, good luck, she's expensive. And it's like 6 months later, and it's like he's signed up to play Live Golf. Who was your most surprising announcement? What do you think of the field as a whole? Nick, I'll go to you first.
Yeah, I'll keep this pretty brief and simple. I think the field as a whole, there were definitely a few names on there that I was kind of like, made me think. But when you think about PGA and especially this year and some of the people who might be bigger names, so to speak, but haven't necessarily been playing up to their names, especially this season. It's not as surprising. Honestly, for me, not knowing as much about golf as you guys do, seeing DJ on there was probably my biggest surprise.
Yeah.
Although when you sent the list to Slade and I was just scrolling down through looking at last names, and I seen Kepka. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I was like, oh shit, and then I was like, oh wait.
Which
um,
shout out to Brooks real quick. He got married today.
All right.
oh,
They
congrats.
said that they meant to send the invitation to Brooks, but it went to his brother.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I definitely think that um, I don't have a say as far as whether I think this is good or bad. Obviously, competition in the sports world, I can't hate on that. There's some names. There were some names on there that I like to watch on PGA that obviously I'll have to find out however the hell to watch the other. But
It's Live is on YouTube, I believe they
is it?
said for this
Okay.
year, unless they sign like a deal before the end of the year. But I'm pretty sure they said all 8, at least in the US.
Amazon will end up picking them up.
Probably.
Yeah. But yeah, so luckily none of the 3 to 5 of my favorites. Although I did enjoy Dustin Johnson. I might put him in my top 5 if I sit back and think about it as far as to watch. But nonetheless, good for him. Again, 125 millis.
Yeah.
Not a bad move.
Slade, did anybody surprise you and your thoughts on the field, at least so far?
Yeah, so the most surprising thing I think was that Phil Mickelson wasn't one of the original names named in the list of people that were going to be competing. Obviously, there was 6 names that they were holding on to, I guess.
Yeah.
And then I think it was like 2 days ago that it was announced Phil Mickelson had entered into play at London.
Yeah.
I think that was the most surprising original thing, just because he literally lost every single sponsor he had
Mm-hmm.
to like speak up for this other golf league starting up and everything. And so like it was confusing that he wasn't on there. It was good for him to see that he's on the second one, to know that he's not gonna continue to just not make any money since all of his sponsors had left. I mean, he's at least going to get a paycheck for showing up to these things. I'm sure it's a big paycheck because he literally sent Twitter everywhere into a whirlwind when he was dropping all of these bombshells
Yeah.
that were happening. Someone I wish that they would have taken was Daniel Berger, but
That makes like the 2 of us.
can't win them all.
Schwartzel was, I forgot about Schwartzel, but Schwartzel
Yeah,
was kind of a
UPS
surprise.
dropped his ass.
Yeah. As I said, the biggest surprise was honestly DJ. Like there wasn't really much murmurs about him leaving. And like I said, just a few months ago, he's like, oh, I'm loyal to the tour. I'm staying. But I mean, somebody dangles 125 million in your face. I can't blame him for doing it. I wish it was under a little bit better circumstances. I wish, the issues surrounding this league weren't really there. Because it would be nice to see a competitive league to the PGA open up. Not necessarily like full scale competition, but like keep a good enough relationship with the PGA. Like, and again, it's going to be very hard to ban them from from not just the Masters, but all the major tournaments. Like the only one that could really do it was the PGA championship and the Tour championship and the Players. But well, just I'm trying to think of them.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah. But I just wish there was like a better relationship to be like, hey, I want to go play over here for a couple tournaments. Hey, I want to come back. The biggest announcement came today. The USGA came out and said that, it's not right to ban these guys from the US Open because they have earned their spot there. And it's a last minute thing. We don't want to be those people. We can review it going forward, but whoever signed up to play Live Golf is allowed to play the US Open this year, which I think DJ is still going to do it. Phil might do it. But that was nice to see, at least like, hey, it's not right to just out of nowhere ban these people.
Right.
Go
They
ahead.
said that it wasn't a part of their stipulations to get into the
Right.
tournament, that they already had these stipulations, and that
Right.
the Live tournament was not included in those or the Live League. So like this wasn't something that was thought up to put into the regulations and rules to be able to
Right.
be a part of that.
Which is good because like it's very hard to earn your spot in that tournament. And at the end of the day, they probably would have been as upset because, like we said, they're getting a fat check. But to have that honor to go do that tournament still if they want to is special. As for the field as a whole, if Dustin Johnson and Phil Mickelson don't win every tournament this year, it'll be. I also don't really understand how it works. I need to wait for this weekend or have somebody explain to me how these teams and like the tournament as a whole works. I understand it's only 3 rounds, it's shotgun starts, but when they said they're including teams and all this stuff, I just don't understand that part of it. But it'll be interesting to see how it works. But just overall, like a very lackluster field to me. And I understand it was probably very hard to pull these guys away from PGA Tour. But only having 2-3 big names and the people roasting Kevin Na after he left was hysterical to me. Everybody's saying that rounds are going to go 20 minutes faster now. That was great. I also just saw a tweet just before we started this. Somebody said, and I think this is just, it's either speculation or somebody just putting it out there that Bryson's going to sign with Liv just before the Portland tournament. So we'll have to wait and see about that.
Hey,
yeah.
Sorry, real quick. Do you think it's make or break that they have this one opportunity this year to play at the U.S. Open? Do you think it's make or break that this league doesn't survive if one of their guys does not place in the top 5?
I don't think it's make or break that they have to place in the top 5. Just because one, the way the whole field throughout the entire PGA season has been, you've had one dominant guy, and that was Scotty Scheffler, and obviously he struggled with the PGA, but every week it seems like you have 3 new names at the top of the leaderboard trying to win. Obviously we have had a few different repeat winners, but I feel like the field is just wide open. I wouldn't say this year is make or break. I would say if they're allowed to compete next year, then it's absolutely make or break, because 1, they need to get some bigger names in there, and 2, if you're trying to set yourself up as competition to the PGA, you need to compete with the PGA. You can't have half your guys missing the cut at a the US Open. I think they'll be allowed to compete next year because, like I said, this is 100% USGA. This isn't a PGA event. I also see the British Open, or just the Open as it's called, they get very offended when you say it's the British Open. But I also see that as being another event that won't necessarily exclude people. But again, we'll have to wait and see. We'll especially find out here in a month when that tournament goes down.
I think it'd be smart for them to offer contracts to every person that wins a tournament this year.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Like if they could sign 5 of the next 10 winners or something like that.
Mhm.
Like if they're, like you said, it's spread out. It's people that you're not really seeing their name up there. Like we had Davis Riley, or Riley Davis. I forget which way.
Davis Riley.
Yeah, but
Right? I don't know. Can't remember.
But,
It's been a
but
week.
anyway, you have like he was up at the top of the leaderboard. Wise. You have all these guys that they could offer contract to and bring over if they win.
Yeah. I mean, we've talked about it in our group chats, and I think a lot of the guys recognize the risk of going there, not just for the PGA career, but if they sign, they go over there and say the PGA comes out and says, you're banned from our events or whatever. Obviously, yes, like we just said, they could probably still play the US Open, whatever. But if Live Golf fails and folds, they're fucked. Like, yeah, you got this huge paycheck, and hopefully you still get that, but you're not going to keep getting that. And now you need to try and find another source of income, and hope that the PGA Tour forgives you and lets you back in.
Whoa! Let's not think that fucking Dustin Johnson needs to find another way to get a paycheck after this.
No.
If this fails in 3 years.
No, I mean, and I'm not saying guys like that. Yeah, obviously are fine.
I understand what you're saying. Chase Koepka or someone that's not getting paid much.
Right. Yeah. And so I feel like that's probably scaring a lot of the younger guys away. And also they're looking at this saying, hey, these guys are leaving. Like Max Homa made fun of it, and he's like, hey, spots on the PIP list are opening up. Like, I'll move up now. But as a whole, they're like, okay, these guys are leaving. Hey, that leaves spots at tournaments open for me. All this other stuff. I know that I will have a guaranteed, not necessarily guaranteed paycheck. Obviously, you got to still go out there and make the cut, but less money, but it's more well backed, I guess I want to say, other than hey, we need to see if this league can succeed first before I want to jump over there. And I feel like that's probably what's scaring most of the people away. Not just the stuff hanging around the league and it backed by the Saudis and all this other stuff, political stuff that I don't understand. I don't want to get into. And you can say what you want about it. I just feel like the biggest reservation a lot of these guys have is they look at it and they're like, yeah, that's a great chunk of change, but I could also just stay here and keep a steady paycheck coming in, get some really good sponsors behind me, especially if more people keep leaving. Hey, the more people that leave, the more spots open up for me. The higher up the leaderboard I can move, the more money I can make that way. And I get to play in these really prestigious tournaments, the FedEx Cup, the Tour Championship, the Players. If the Masters bans them, I can go to the Masters still. Things like that. So I like I said, I feel like that's the biggest thing deterring people from going there.
I think the Masters will ban them all.
Yeah.
It's like the most exclusive type tournament. So.
Right. I feel like I go either way with the Masters. Just because like they pride themselves on bringing all these different people from all these different like minor tours over to come in. They might welcome the challenge, honestly, more so than the US Open or the Open, and be like, hey, come over here, prove your shit, and we'll prove that our guys are better than you in every way, and they can handle this course better. But again, we'll have to wait and see if one, it survives, and two, what these tournaments start doing. But I think the US Open and the Open will stay, kind of out of it and just be like, if you qualify, come play, kind of thing. Anyway, moving on, sticking with the US Open and the Open, Tiger Woods announced today that he will not be playing in the US Open in a few weeks in Massachusetts. He will, however, play in the Open in a little over a month at St. Andrews. Slade, your thoughts on that real quick. Do you think he's going to be healthy enough for that? And do you expect him to play well there?
I don't think we see him play well till next year. I think
Yeah.
that this was a definite thing that everyone could have seen coming. I mean, the dude was limping around during his practice warm-ups before pulling out on what was it, Saturday or Sunday that he pulled out?
Saturday.
Saturday, yeah. So I mean, I
not-
think this is something. Yeah, I think you're right. I think he made the cut and then pulled out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that this was just something that we saw coming. I don't think that he's going. I think he will play at the Open, but I don't think he's going to perform well until next year.
Nick, same question to you. Your thoughts on him skipping the US Open and how do you think he'll fare at the Open if he does play, and will he play?
Yeah, I mean, good for him for understanding that he needs to, take a little extra time. We talked about it before, Tiger's pride. I know it's not easy on him. But nonetheless, needs to be done. And, if I'm him, again, we talked about it before. I don't even think I would play in the Open. I think he needs to get back because we've seen he had almost 2 months off between the Masters and the PGA, right?
A little over a month.
A little over a month. It seemed longer
Yeah.
than that, but
Which he spent at the Southern Hills or whatever.
Yeah.
yeah. So, I guess maybe it depends on how he spends it. If he actually can rest up and maybe do some extra rehab, whatever, instead of spending that time, going out there and continue to play golf, maybe it benefits him. But I don't think that we see Tiger, like Slade said. I don't think we see Tiger play more than one round of good golf until next year.
Yeah. Gonna kind of agree along the same lines. I think it's smart that he skips the US Open. As for the Open itself, I've said this multiple times, and until he retires, I will never say that Tiger can't do anything. He's obviously, yeah, he struggled coming back, but people didn't think he was going to play the Masters this year. He played all 4 rounds. Granted, the last 2 weren't great. Everybody thought he was too beat up from that to play the PGA. I think he spent a little too much time playing the course over and over. I think he just wore himself out. But at the end of the day, he still played, still made the cut. The fact that he's beat up as he is, and he's still out there, and he's the top, it has to be top 50 golfer in the world right now because he's made cuts twice. I mean, the Masters is literally the top 50. I want to say the PGA might be top 80. I can't remember the exact number. But the fact that he's still going out there at these major tournaments and making the cuts, he knows St. Andrews like the back of his hand.
He'll be there for
It's,
weeks.
yeah, I don't think he will. I think he knows that course so well. Like the Masters, he was there for a couple of weeks. And I think he was just there to make, hey, can I do this? Realize he could. Southern Hills, I think the last time the tour was there was like late 90s. So obviously he had to go there and get reacquainted with the course and, hey, can I do this? He knows St. Andrews so well. I think he'll go there probably a week, maybe 2 weeks before and play. But if he can at least muster up 2 rounds, he'll make the cut. But St. Andrews is always like a wild card, especially for the Open. You got high winds, you got a ridiculous course setup with sand traps, the rough, everything. If he can play half of his capability, I think he'll finish top 20 at the Open. Just because, like I said, the way he knows that course and the way that style of course will play into his game. And a lot of these guys are going to be going there for the very first time. And like I said, he definitely makes the cut for me. And like I said, if he can be 75%, overall, I have him finishing top 20. If he's 80%, maybe top 5. And if he goes into Sunday in the top 10, seeing him in Tiger Red on Sunday strolling through St. Andrews will be something special. And I think he might just surprise us. But that's just my thoughts. But I'm very excited to see him play again. Obviously, I want him to get 100% healthy. I think, like you guys said, and we touched on this when he backed out of the PGA, it'll take until next April, when the Masters roll around again, for him to be 100% healthy. But I still think he's not somebody, one, you ever count out of a tournament. Like he said, he won't play in the tournament if he doesn't feel like he can win it. Obviously, I feel like his body just gave out on him after the first round at the PGA. I feel like it kind of did at the Masters too. He just didn't want to admit it at that point. The PGA kind of said, like, listen, I need to. If I want to, have a life, basically. But I'm not counting him out until he comes out and says, I can't do this.
Do you think it's a possibility that, the dude has gone through multiple back surgeries, neck surgery. He's had to change, like relearn how to swing the club or change his club swing. I think it's 3 times now. Could this be the one time that he's not able to get past this?
It very well might.
This,
Yeah.
like this is the best that we see Tiger.
Yeah.
For the rest of his career,
Yeah, and it very well may be the case. But at the end of the day, it's a waiting game. No matter how you play it, either he's gonna get better or he's not. And he can come out and say as much as he wants that I'm in the best shape since my accident, and we can't argue with that because we don't know. Yeah.
It's not saying a whole lot considering he couldn't golf a couple months ago.
Yeah.
He's hitting golf balls for millions of dollars.
Yeah. Somebody said I saw, I don't know how verified this was. I did see a tweet though that Live Golf offered Tiger almost $1 billion to go play there. Again,
I saw that too.
I don't know how verified that is. I wouldn't be surprised, but at the same time, like if you see all these struggles he's going through, I would wait until he's healthy and be like, hey, here's $1 billion, come play. I wouldn't be like, hey, the shape you're in right now, here's $1 million or $1 billion, come play.
It's the name though.
Yeah, and I 100% agree.
He was offered $3 million just to enter into the Saudi tournament the last couple of years.
Yeah. That's enough about golf. Moving on, we had the NASCAR debut at Gateway, just outside of St. Louis. Overall, I give the race a 9. I felt like it was very good. A lot of people said this, and I kind of agree. It raced like we thought Martinsville would this year. Obviously, they're having struggles with the new next gen car, or whatever, on the short tracks as of right now. Overall, I was very thoroughly impressed with the race. Slade, your thoughts on the race? And we had a little bit of a scuffle with Ross Chastain, especially with Chase Elliott and Danny Hamlin. We had a bunch of mix-ups throughout the day as a whole. We had Ricky Stenhouse and Bubba Wallace. But your thoughts on the race?
Yeah, so I disagree. I thought the race was horrible in terms of like a fan's excitement factor. I thought that it raced almost like the Roval or something. There wasn't a lot of passing unless it was a restart. Everyone was kind of split up. It reminded me of like the Indianapolis 500, but or what would it be, the Indy 400 for NASCAR or whatever. Um,
Brickyard 400, yeah.
Brickyard 400, sorry. But it just reminded me of that where like after the restart, about 15, 20 laps in, like everyone's in their spot. That's where they're fucking sitting until green flag pit stops or a caution. Um, I I just wasn't really a fan of the track. I think that, like you said, it's a weird situation with Ross Chastain and Denny Hamlin, Chase Elliott. I mean, we haven't really heard about Chase Elliott from the situation, but everyone's been interviewing Denny Hamlin, Ross Chastain, and even Justin Marks, team owner. Uh, Denny Hamlin basically went off on Ross Chastain because he was interviewed first and said that what goes around comes around. Basically, he can expect it back in in a more meaningful scenario later on in the season. Daniel Suarez, or not Daniel Suarez, sorry, Ross Chastain, wrong teammate. Ross Chastain said that he was really disappointed in himself. He expects whatever he has coming to him, that he basically got into half the freaking field, and that he felt as if he looked like a novice driver out there because he was over driving the corner time after time after time. That he figured that after hundreds of laps that he should have had it down, but he's not getting it down. I think that he said that. Then they went back to Denny Hamlin. Denny Hamlin's like kind of backpedaling on his like aggressiveness with his first statement, and he's like, "Well, I mean, yeah, like as long as he knows that like he needs to do better and blah blah blah." Like, uh, and then Justin Marks comes out, I think yesterday, and it's like, I told Ross Chastain that's the way he needs to drive. If he wants to get to his goals or where he wants to be, that he's going to have to move people like that. And Denny Hamlin's like, that's not the way an owner should talk. So I don't know what your guys' thoughts are on all that, but I did think it was interesting that we didn't hear from Chase Elliott because usually when he's on the butt end of uh, some aggressive driving from another driver, we've seen in the past, he somehow gets his damaged car up to the front and wins, or at least finishes good enough to be able to talk and say that the person was an asshole.
Yeah. Um, as far as Chase, I think Chase has learned, even on social media, he's been quiet. I think he's learned when to pick and choose his battles. I think he's obviously still pissed off at Ross. And I think he will pay him back at some point, but he's not as vocal as Denny Hamlin. Um, as far as Denny's, I mean, every time you interview a NASCAR driver, as soon as they get out of the car, and Denny Hamlin had a great car this weekend. I think he qualified top 10. He was running pretty decently in the race, and then the incident with Chastain happens, ruins his day. And I mean, without fail, every time you interview a guy, as soon as he gets out of the car, yeah, he's gonna say some pretty demeaning shit. And that's just the way it is. As far as Chastain's interview, he was very sincere. He took blame, and that's very nice. Same time, this is the same guy this isn't the first time he has done something like this year. He's known as an aggressive driver, and other drivers in the field are like that, and you either love him or hate him for it. And I have zero problem with how he raced, and I understand a lot of it was A, stupidity, but B, just getting knocked around himself, and then like, hey, I didn't mean to. But when you get punted by a car, it doesn't matter if he got punted first. You're gonna be mad at that guy. And so, like I said, his words were very nice, very sincere. But is it like a Jekyll and Hyde thing? Is he going to come out and just go right back to aggressively racing people? And at times he does a very good job of towing that line of aggressive to way too aggressive. Obviously, at Gateway on Sunday, he crossed that line a lot, and he understood that. But it'll be interesting to see how he handles it going forward, and how other guys around him handle that. If the second he even gets the slightest bit aggressive towards them, is he going around? Because people know what that next step is for him. Back to the race real quick. like I said, I disagree with you. I think it was a very good race, especially watching Busch and Logano race towards the finish before the caution came out.
That finish was.
Yeah, but like I mean, backing up to when Logano was running that man down, I was like, oh shit, this is cool. And Blaney's running him down. Listen, at the end of the day, like you need to learn how to drive the track. Like those guys were up at the front because they understood how to drive the track and they were gaining on each other, they were pulling away from each other, so on. You know, you go back in the field, if you can't pass anybody at that track, that's your own goddamn fault because you're not good. Like that's how I took it. It was you had Michael McDowell lead 34 laps, which I thought was absolutely fucking bonkers. I was like, what the fuck is going on? But it was really cool to see guys ebb and flow throughout the field. You know, like I said, McDowell was up there. I don't think he finished inside the top 10. Eric Almirola was one of those guys. He was up battling for the lead. He dropped back a little bit. Was up battling for the lead. I think he finished 5th. Overall, like I said, I'm not saying it was an A+ race. I think after Charlotte overachieved. Like I don't think we're gonna have every race at Charlotte be like that from now on. And I also think there was times that racing as a whole could have been better. But you went from a track where they're passing each other left and right. You had 30 different leaders or whatever. To here, it's just a much more technical track. And I mean, coming from IndyCar and Formula One, I can understand that like, hey, not every race is going to have 50 passes for the lead, you know, so on. But I like I said, I'm not saying it was an A++ race, but I feel like overall it was a very good race. Nick, your thoughts real quick on the race. Did you watch most of it? I know you and I were talking. Well, we were texting Slade about the finishing, but your thoughts on the race as a whole?
Yeah. Like I said, the finish was great. The setup before the finish, before that last caution, was great. They were definitely like for instance, I texted you guys. Kyle Larson was sitting, I want to say like 14th, 16th, something like that. He pitted and was sitting in 4th. If you would have told me Kyle Larson moved up that many spots and then had a restart and 20 laps later would be in 20th and there wasn't a caution, I don't know what I would have.
He take 2 tires.
He might have. I'm not sure exactly what happened on the pit, but nonetheless, like it was very fast. He was back there, and that was the kind of racing that we had. Like George said, there were people up there, McDowell, and then the Stenhouse incident. He was up. I don't think he was like up high, but was up towards the front half of the pack, and the next thing you know, he's in the back, which is NASCAR to begin with. But nonetheless, it seemed like that kind of day, the entire day. Which might not be as fun as, like George said, watching 50 lead changes, but it kept things interesting. Kept me involved in what I was watching. I wasn't like, oh, they're still in the same running order. I can look away from the TV, whatever. It kept me looking at the screen. So slightly different entertainment factor than what you might think of when you think of an entertaining race, but nonetheless, I thought it was great, especially the finish. I think Busch is. We talked about in the group chat. I think Busch is an idiot for taking the outside.
Oh, yeah,
but
I don't think. See, you guys said that. I disagree with you. Again,
I understand his reasoning behind doing it.
What was his reasoning?
Like
his brother was behind him.
His brother.
No, not for me. It's not just that.
But he didn't know his brother would be behind him.
He did. The other two were teammates. They're gonna line up together.
But
Blaney and Logano are team. He wouldn't have. They're teammates.
That makes sense.
Logano,
but nonetheless, he was running the top half, like at least if you cut the track straight down the middle, he was running like that inside at the top half. So obviously, he starts in the top. He's gonna have his line right there. And I understand from Logano's perspective, you can push him up the track, which was what I thought Busch would want. But then again, he was running that line the whole time, so I understand. He had the line. He had his brother behind him. Whatever. But his brother didn't give him any push, so
No. So for me, like you think about, like if you go back to the restart just before that, Blaney picked a different line than Logano. Blaney was trying to win that race. He doesn't give a shit about his teammates anymore.
That was 30 laps out though.
No, it wasn't. It was like 15 laps.
Still.
Well, I mean, he's trying to get by. He is past the point of giving a shit about his teammates. But anyway, my point is, Busch had restarted on the top just about all race, and he had been the best.
No.
on
It was
top.
the opposite. It was the opposite because they said it during the broadcast.
What?
They said it was the opposite. They said Kyle Busch picked the bottom every single time, and that would be what he would pick this time to run up into him.
Well, then
And
they're
then he chose the
dipshits.
opposite. And then he
Because-
chose the opposite and lost.
The last two restarts that I watched, Busch was on the outside,
I don't know. Yeah.
but Busch was running the top.
I was listening to it in the car.
Yeah.
So
in turn 1 and 2, everybody knew Logano was going to drive it in deep and try and slide shot him, which he
everyone
did.
would. Yeah.
Yeah. And that was fine. We're talking about a completely different scenario if Busch drives into 3 and 4 and doesn't lose it. He drove it in there. He was 3/4 of the way through the turn and then loses it up the hill, and Logano drives right by him. If he doesn't do that, we're sitting here going, "Oh wow, Kyle Busch was really smart." And in my defense, or in his defense, I 100%, I would have done the same thing. You can't think about what anybody else is going to do in that situation. You got to be like, okay, I'm the leader. I control everything. The restart before, I got a great jump on the outside. I pulled a car length ahead of him. I think so. That restart he did. The restart before that, I think he did have the inside. He got because Logano was the leader. He took the outside. Regardless, either way, the previous restart, Busch started on the outside, got a great jump, pulled a car length ahead, and Logano had to run him back down. I got to believe in myself as the self-proclaimed best driver in NASCAR that he thinks he is I'm going to do the same thing. If my brother is behind me and he gets a good jump and he can push me off into one, that's even better. Obviously he spun his tires. That didn't work out. But I think regardless, even if he would have cleared Logano was going to send him to turn 1 and he was either going to wreck him or, pull off the slide job, which I just got to say real quick. Of all the people to have a clean race against each other, Logano and Kyle Busch are the two names I would have never picked in my life to race each other cleanly to the finish. But like I said, if Busch doesn't get loose in the middle of 3 and 4 with coming to 1 to go, he wins that race, every time.
See, that was my thing, because they were having issues. They both had a couple times where, you could see them get a little loose in the turns in the last couple laps. So obviously, by taking it up top, you're pretty much up there by yourself. You figure Logano down at the bottom, if he happens to get loose and slide up the track a little bit, he gets into Busch, or if he's past Busch, gets into Busch's way or whatever. So that was my reasoning. Like I said, I understand, the way he was running and why he took the top and whatnot.
Right. And I'm sure, I'm sure if you talk to him, he's like, yeah, I wish I would have taken the bottom. But like I said, going into that, you're like, hey, I have done really well on the top. Whether he knew, his brother was behind him or not when he, chose the outside or gonna be behind him is another thing too. But it's like, but his brother spun his tires. That didn't help. And, he didn't get a great launch either. But, going to 3 and 4, you'll be like, hey, this is going to stick. Like we saw years ago when Johnson and Carl Edwards were racing at Kansas, and Edwards ran him down from 5 seconds back. Yeah. And he's like, it was the last lap. He didn't, I don't think he touched the brake pedal. He just sent it into 3 and 4. And he's like, this is going to stick. And he even you said in the interview afterwards, he's like, I thought it was gonna be like a video game, it's gonna bounce off the wall and keep going. But he's like, at some point, if in the famous line is, if you go for a gap that's no longer there, you're not a racer anymore. And if you're not gonna trust your abilities to make your car stick where you want it to, or so on and so forth, and what's the point? And that's why, yeah, he probably should have chosen the bottom. But I'm just saying, I don't think it was the worst decision.
I think that no matter what, Ryan Blaney was choosing the bottom.
Oh, yeah.
I think that Kyle Busch knew that Joey Logano had the better car. His car was faster. So I think that Kyle Busch needed to get the better start on the inside so that he could choose his lane in 3 and 4.
Yeah.
Because he wasn't going to get to choose no matter how good a start he got in 1 and 2. He was going to have to run the top and possibly get into that gravel where he's going to slide up. I think Ryan Blaney was no matter what going to push him because either way, he pushes Kyle Busch up into Joey Logano and he passes them both for the win, or he gets a good thing and he finishes second because he pushes Busch past Logano. I think either way, Blaney was going to choose the inside.
Yeah.
He was going to give whoever was in front of him the best push possible. So I think that that's why the inside is what Kyle Busch needed to choose, not because Kyle Busch, like you had said, he had a couple good runs on the outside. I think it was because of who was pushing him.
Yeah. My only thing is so if Bush chooses the bottom and Blaney does line up behind him, if I'm Blaney, like, yeah, I'm gonna give him a good push. I'm not turning my wheels. I am pushing him straight into the wall. Like and well, straight enough that like he goes up and not just like hits Logano or whatever. He sails, misses the corner completely, and I keep going.
He's not the type of guy though.
Yeah, he is.
No.
Yeah, he is. Yeah. He wants to win a race right now so badly. He would 100% do it, especially like he didn't do it to Joey because Joey's his teammate. Granted, like I said, I don't think he gives a shit about his teammates anymore in the sense of like, if it came down that like him and Joey in the last lap, I think he 100% moves Joey out of the way. But like on that restart, he pushed Joey off. He's like, okay, let's get out there. So it is me and you. And he was licking his chops coming off of 3 and 4. Bush is loose. Logano just barely missed him, and Blaney's on the inside of Logano. And Logano or Blaney's like, yeah, like finally I'm gonna win one. But if Bush lines up in front of him, in my opinion, Blaney's like, this is my chance to, one, keep a rival team from winning, and two, I finally get to go out there and get a win that I've been so close so many times this year. Like he has had dominant car after dominant car at all these races and just gets the shittiest luck. So in my opinion, if he lines up in that situation, he punts Bush off in turn 1. And then he goes on to the win. So that honestly, that might have played into Bush's mind too. Is like he knows Blaney's choosing the inside, because Blaney had really good restarts all day on the inside. So he sees that and he's like, okay, I know he's going to go inside, so I got to go outside and hope he punts his teammate or something like that. Anyway, it still was a great race, and now we go to a road course in Sonoma. Over in IndyCar, Will Power wins the Detroit Grand Prix. The last time. For the foreseeable future, it'll be run at Belle Isle. I had a love-hate relationship with Belle Isle. Ryan Hunter-Reay had a great win there. But Rossi absolutely ran down Will Power. If there was another lap, I really wish there was another lap. Just it was weird because like that the time was coming down, and then it just stopped at 7 seconds. I was like, oh, it's over. And the next thing I look back up and it's 3-2. I'm like, holy shit, he's coming. And then like they zoom in. Still, it was a great race. It was good to see Rossi just run well in general. He has really struggled here, unless it's at Indianapolis. Moving on, real quick, debate. Nick, bone in or boneless wings?
Listen, I get into this argument with people all the time, and I have a lot of reasoning behind it. So hear me out here.
Okay.
I say boneless. So I understand the hatred towards boneless wings. People say they're chicken tenders. I understand. So first of all, they're cheaper. Second of all, I'll give it a conservative 90% of places that you go, you will get more meat in the boneless wings than you do in the bone-in.
Yeah.
So I'm an efficient man. I like to be very efficient in things that I do. So if you're telling me I can get more meat for less money, and usually typically like say you go to Buffalo Wild Wings and you order a large bone-in versus a large boneless, you're talking like 16 bone-in wings versus say 20 large wings. I don't know if those are the actual numbers Buffalo Wild Wings uses, but nonetheless. So not only are you getting more meat per wing, but you're getting more wings too, for cheaper. So again, hella efficient. Second, if I'm eating wings, there's a really good chance that I'm watching some sort of sporting event, and it's so much easier to just either A, pick it up with my finger, or B, stick a fork in it, dip it in my blue cheese. Totally different debate. We're not going there tonight, but dip it in my blue cheese and continue watching my sporting event. So,
yeah,
boneless wings.
So we're all going to be team boneless. Slade, why do you prefer boneless to bone-in?
Two things.
Okay.
Like Nick, it's cleaner, it's easier. Number two, I don't like the tendons, like the stringy parts
that's fair
getting
enough.
stuck in my teeth.
Yeah.
Like if I'm gonna eat them at home, that's fine. Like if I'm just sitting here watching the game or something like that, I'll eat the bone in. Like if that's all it's there. But if I'm buying them, I'm always buying boneless because I just think it's a better option. I mean, I'm fine with them being half a chicken tender, whatever. They're good.
Yeah, right. Whatever. Say what you want about me. I don't care.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
And I'm going ranch. You, Nick.
Yeah. I'm ranch too. But the reason I prefer, like, if you hand me drums, I'll eat the shit out of drums all day. Like obviously I prefer boneless for, like you said, Nick, like the meat to the meat ratio is just more. It's a little bit cleaner, but shut up. Like if you hand me a flat chicken wing, I fucking despise those. Like I hate trying to eat flats. You always lose like 10% of the meat in there. Like I love drums because you can get the whole thing. You can clean that bone off, and it's easy.
Yeah,
You
I
can eat
bet
that
you
with one
just
hand.
sucks the bone.
Yeah. If you eat a flat, you got to sit there. Like everybody has these like stupid tricks they do, like the umbrella or whatever. Or
They don't
you gotta
like,
deconstruct the wing
yeah.
to get all the meat out of there, and it's just way too much effort that I want to put into eating of food. The only food that should ever require that much effort is a crab. So that's why I'm team boneless. Real quick, our top 5. Speaking of wings, our top 5 wing flavors. Nick, let's have you go first.
All right, so first one, this is my only really bitchy one on this list, but I went with the salt and vinegar rub. I think I had it first at B-Dubs, but I had it first at Three Pines or whatever the hell restaurant we were talking about earlier. Um, it's a change of pace. Usually when I get wings, I get 2 flavors. One's usually hot, one's usually a change of pace. Um, Salt and vinegar, little salty, a little something different. Um, you know, so yeah, I like a change of pace. Number 4, Nashville hot. I'm gonna thank George for putting me onto this one. Um, I knew of Nashville hot, but I didn't realize that it was like a legit actual wing flavor. I thought it was just some KFC shit, but it's busting at KFC, so I'm putting it on here because I'm sure if I like the KFC version, I'm gonna love the regular version. 3, mango habanero. Again, sweet, spicy. It's good. I like, especially if I'm eating wings. I like a good, decent amount of heat. The habanero in there. Some mango habaneros, like I want to say that it is B Dub's mango habanero, is weak as hell. Maybe it's not B Dub's, but nonetheless, I've had it somewhere where it's just weak. If I am eating something, I order something, and I say the word habanero, it better burn my ass when it comes out. Number 2, Old Bay rub. I think we might have mentioned it on. Were we talking about Old Bay in last week's episode for some reason,
I don't remember.
or was that beforehand or after? Either way, Old Bay, is like, is it Frank's Red Hot sauce?
I think it was before because I put Old Bay on my pizza. Yeah, it was before. But yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. But either way, I put that shit on everything. I don't know. It might not.
That's Frank's Red Hot.
It is Frank's. Okay, good shit. And number 1, garlic parmesan. Again, I normally like my wings hotter, but garlic parmesan is one of those things where you go to a restaurant, you order it, it's good every time you get it. Um, it never disappoints. It's never one of the. It's never hot to where you can't eat it. Can't go wrong with it. Number 1, garlic parmesan.
All right. Slade, now that you're done fucking with my top 5, what is your top 5?
Well, I had to make it different because Nick's is basically all but salt and vinegar, a variation of our 2. So I was trying to.
Okay.
Mine banging wing flavors. I don't know what you want from me.
Coming in at number 5 was just original mild. I usually get that over anything just because it's something no restaurant can mess up.
Yeah.
Like it's the same spice everywhere you go. Second, first time I ever tried it was at college. There was this place you could go to every night and get like 12 wings, boneless, for like $5 or something like that. Mango habanero, by far favorite.
Okay.
It's not everywhere, so you don't get to try it all the time.
Yeah.
Number 3 is Carolina Heat. Sometimes it's called Carolina Blaze, I think, at some places, but it's a spicy one. But I really like that one. It's just I don't want to be sweating my ass off while I eat, so that's why it's at number 3. Number 2, buffalo. That's if I'm ordering it to the house because it's already gonna be cooled off a little bit by the time it gets there, so it needs to be a little bit hotter than mild. And if I'm eating out and I'm gonna be going elsewhere and stuff like that, I don't want to be sweating my dick off, so I go with honey barbecue. Keep it safe with my ranch.
I'm a little confused by saying that you order buffalo when you eat at home because the heat cools off. The spice is still there. The wing's just colder.
No. I don't heat the wing up, so I just eat it how it comes.
I understand, but it's still spicy. It doesn't make it any less spicy.
No, the spice of the heat or the temperature of the chicken makes a difference.
It does. I will
try eating like a hot wing when it's hot versus in the fridge the next morning.
Okay. I don't
understand
the way it came out at first.
all,
Yeah,
but...
I'm not disagreeing. Just the way it came out, I'm like, how How does that make any sense? Like the spice is
up here.
still there. Okay. All right. My top 5. Number 5, I have any spicy barbecue. Like I love the taste of a regular barbecue wing. You add a little bit of spice to it. It's chef's kiss. You get the sweetness, you get the tangy, and you get the heat. Perfect. Number 4, I have mild because I'm a bitch. I don't like spicy food at all. Mild at Buffalo Wild Wings is like on the border of making me sweat. I accidentally ordered medium one time, and I don't think I even finished the wings. I was sweating so bad. I don't like heat. Number 3, I have Old Bay rub. Obviously this isn't everywhere. This is like a Maryland, Pennsylvania, New Jersey kind of thing. I don't think they sell Old Bay here in North Carolina, which is a travesty. But anyway, I absolutely love an Old Bay rub on a wing. You can't go wrong with it. You were talking about it. I really miss Scazzaro's. It used to be in New Oxford. Now it's the Bourbon Mill. I haven't had their wings. I don't know what their wings are like, but Scazzaro's used to have the best Old Bay rub wings. Number 2, I have garlic parmesan. Like you guys said, you can't go wrong with garlic parm. If there's this one place I want to say I think it was in Davino's back home. Douses that shit in garlic, and that is great. Try their wings sometime. And number 1, I have Cajun Ranch. We have East Coast Wings and Grill down here. They make really good wings, but their Cajun Ranch is so freaking good. You pick it up and the stuff's just dripping off. It's a really messy wing, but that sauce is just so good. I don't think I've ever had anything better. I love Down to Me. I could easily eat like 50 of those wings in one sitting, especially if they're boneless. If you try to make me sit there and eat 50 bone-in wings, I think I might lose my mind.
It ain't worth it.
No. But anyway, that is our top 5s and our episode for this week. We had a lot of fun bringing this one to you. Yeah.
Something that happened just now while we were recording. So Tampa Bay scored the first goal. They're up 1-0, and then later on after that, in the first period, one of the Lightning players shot a very obviously wide goal shot. It didn't go in. It was like fucking 10 feet to the left. But they rang the bell and the horn. And so it stopped play because someone somewhere thought that went in.
That's great.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
I would do something like that if I was sitting there. Like if I'm sitting there watching a Penguins game, like let's go. Just actually slap the button. Like, oh shit.
Yeah, you definitely
That's
can't be
funny.
a fan and do that
No.
job.
Oh, that's funny though. But yeah, so that'll wrap up our episode. We thank you guys so much for tuning in this week. Nick is in his new setup. Slade's enjoying the hotel life. But we look forward to bringing you guys another episode next week of the once weekly, never weekly show that I think we've done 4 or 5 weeks in a row now.
I
So
would say 3 to 5, somewhere in there.
shout out to us.
Sure.
But as always, thank you guys
My
for checking
kids
us
getting
out.
ready to get here, so good
Yeah.
luck on keeping that streak going.
Yeah. But make sure you guys like, share, go follow us, subscribe. I think that's everything. And we will see you guys next week, hopefully.